Hi, I'm Denny, and you are now watching the 8th episode of Take Care Tuesday. This is the last episode of February with our theme of love, and with March right around the horizon, I wanted to end the month with talking about love still, but this time focusing on dealing with losing a loved one. So on March 1st of 2020 last year, my grandmother passed away. My grandmother raised me since I was 6 years old after the death of my mom. My whole world turned upside down with this unexpected loss because my grandmother was and still is my whole heart. Having gone through such significant grief before, I knew that one day this would happen, that we would get here. However, I wasn't prepared at the time when it happened because in my mind, of course, I felt like there was still life for her to be lived. Almost a week after she passed is when the world basically shut down because of COVID, and we all know everything that happened and transpired from that point. Many of us at that point started to lose family members that we weren't at all expecting, and it was really just very sudden. I feel like the grief could be felt around the world, even with not knowing everybody, but just knowing that everybody was going through this tough time. So because we're getting ready to hit March, I know that many of us will be experiencing some first year anniversaries of the passing of someone special. So I kind of wanted to touch on the topic of grief today and kind of discuss what I've been doing throughout the year to handle my grief and to heal through my grief in hopes to connect with something greater than me. I know that we all experience grief at some points in our lives, but this year, or last year rather, just kind of hit different for us all. So that's why I wanted to discuss this. One thing about grief is that it does not have an expiration date. Some days you may be fine, and then the next day you can watch a commercial that will remind you of a small detail about that person, and you could spend the rest of your day crying. It kind of works that way, and it's unpredictable how it will affect you. We all go through grief differently. Grief doesn't look the same for every person, even if they're in the same family or lost the same person. For me personally, because we spent the majority of the year in lockdown, it really allowed me the isolation that I needed to get through this time. It's something that I'll say that I honestly haven't completely healed from. However, I am proud of myself because I have been able to live, and I've gained a new appreciation of life and the love that's around me through this loss. I still miss my grandmother every single day, and I do things often to try to memorialize her in my life so that I'll always have her memory and I'll be able to share her memory with my family as well. I found ways to memorialize her by putting her picture in my little sacred altar space that I created. My grandmother loved to cook, and she loved to sit and watch her family eat the food that she cooked. So every time that I cook now, I try to channel her energy, channel the love that she put into her food. It never comes out tasting like hers, no matter what I do. I can use the exact same seasonings and it doesn't match. However, I always feel connected to her in that way because I knew that it was something that she loved to do. I spent a lot of time this year in meditation. This really helped me process my feelings and to get a lot of answers that I was looking for. It was also a helpful way for me to communicate with God because I think that most of us, if we're honest, when things like this happen and they happen unexpectedly, we can start to question God and ask like why this happened. Meditation allowed me the space to freely express that and to get the answers that I was looking for. A lot of times when I would meditate, I would start the meditation with the question, and then I would just sit in the silence, not trying to bring the answer to my attention or force the answer, but I would just sit in the silence. As soon as the meditation was over, I would grab my journal and start to write. And there were a lot of times where I would find that I would write out the answer that I was looking for. I also went to therapy, which played a huge part in healing through this process. It allowed me to process dealing with her passing, but also dealing with a lot of the growing pains that happens from losing somebody so significant. Therapy allowed me the space to do that. It was also helpful because I didn't feel like I was being a burden on my husband or my friends. They were all there and willing to listen to me, but sometimes you can feel like you don't want to just bring that grief to them. Me personally, I didn't want to just spill over and this is all they're used to me talking about now. So therapy gave me another place to talk about it, and it helped me to really just process those feelings. And it also gave me some tools to handle the grief for different moments, like when the holidays came around or when her birthday came around, things like that. Another big thing that I did was I tried my best to be present. That's something it seems simple, but it's very difficult to do when you lose somebody so close. A lot of times you can find yourself just existing. You know, you start to wake up every day and you're just going through the motions. And I didn't want to do that because I have a whole family and I want to be there for them. And I didn't want them to feel like they were losing me because of the loss that I felt. It was very important for me to remain present with my children, with my husband, with my friends, my family, to just really be in the moment, even if those moments were hard. And oddly enough, because I put that energy into living, it gave me more courage to keep going, to keep moving along. Not moving on, but moving along. Because I don't think that you honestly ever really move on from that loved one, but you find ways to cope, and that's what I did. There are plenty of times throughout the year, and even still now, where I would feel like I can handle it. Felt too deep or just too much. And in those moments, I had to gently remind myself that I am equipped. I'm equipped to handle this. And I still have to continue to remind myself that, because sometimes you do just feel like you don't want to do anything else. If you're still here, there's still reason for you to live. And even though I don't know all of your loved ones that passed along, I'm pretty sure that they will all want you to still live full lives, even in their absence. I know my grandmother did. So I am also, in me living and me choosing to still have a life and to still be present in my life, I know that I'm honoring her in this way as well. This is one of the main reasons why I talk about self-care so often, so much, because I feel like it is so important to have these practices for when moments like this happen. Like I said, grief is something that we all will eventually deal with at one time or the other. And by creating a self-care practice, with that being meditation or exercising, journaling, things like that, with having those practices already in place, it wasn't hard for me to come to grips, if that makes sense. It allowed me to ground myself and to center myself in who I am and my faith in those moments. So as we prepare to hit these anniversaries for the first time, I hope that we all find the bravery to push through, even though it may hurt and even though you may still have a lot of healing to get through. I just hope that we all find the energy and the courage to keep moving forward. Give yourself the space to feel how you feel. If there's a day that you feel good, be in that. Feel good. If there's a day that you feel like you need a moment and you need to just cry, those moments are just as healing and are just as important. So feel that. Nobody can tell you how to grieve. Like I said, it looks different for everybody. So you have to figure out what it is that you need for your own healing, so that you can also move forward and still be productive in your life. The one thing that I do know for sure is that no matter how hard you try, you cannot suppress it. There may be times where you feel like you have to keep moving, so you don't have the time to really sit down and heal from the grief. But the thing about suppressing it is that it will always find a way to seep out, because you haven't healed it. It's going to get worse. And suppressing it for too long, you'll find yourself being triggered out of nowhere. People have had plenty of anxiety attacks that they had no clue as to why they were having it. It's because they haven't fully healed. So take the time for that healing to take place. Don't try to bypass it, because even if you try, it's not going to work. If you happen to find this video and you are about to hit a year milestone or anniversary of losing someone, I hope that you know that you're not in this alone. My hope is that this video gives us some good energy, and to also know that we are all in this together. One day you will be okay. You'll be okay. So that's it for this episode. If you have any comments or any suggestions or just want to say anything about this episode, if you felt it, if it hit different for you, you can always leave a comment or send me a DM. Thank you so much for supporting this show. Until next time, take care.